Welcome back to the garage here at Basin Motorsports. I'm Canaan, and one of the things I've never shown on any of my wraps concerning Foxbody Mustangs is wrapping a hatchback spoiler. So today I'm going to show you how to do this, how I'm going to do it, and then you can decide if you want to follow or do something different. So leading up to this, you know, on any of the pieces that you're about to wrap, you need to worry about prep almost as much or more as getting ready to do the actual wrap itself. So the hatchback, it is a fiberglass piece. So at this point, I have already done rough sand on 80 grit. I've done every fill or a little bit of filler work here on the top side that was needed to take care of any pits. I've resanded it 80, 220. I then wet sanded to 800 and then wet sanded at 1500. So it gives you a nice, very smooth finish. And now we're gonna move on to the wrapping. So I've got it sitting on the car, which makes it a nice height. I can just roll around in my little rolly chair and do all the wrapping. Now I'm going to do this in two pieces. Just because of the shape, to try and get it come over the side and come over back down is going to make it difficult. So I want to do it in two pieces, which hopefully is going to break it up a little bit. So I'm going to do it on the underside here from the bottom edge all the way up to the top edge, and one big piece all the way around. Now I've got it measured out at 95 inches, 95 inches. It's a big piece, but it's not very tall. It's probably about 6 inches of wrap is all you need, but I'm not sure how it's going to react around these bends on the side. So I made it 12 inches tall. So it's 95 in length, 12 tall, and we'll see how it wraps kind of around this corner is where I'm worried about, and up the side. So at this point, I've already got it cleaned, and now I need to start worrying about laying down the wrap itself. So I've got my piece here, I've got all my tools. I'm going to find the center of the wrap. I'm going to peel off the center piece to try and get this to stick on here, and then I'm going to start worrying about wetting it out from the, remember, center point out. So we're going to wet it from center, around, and then we'll pull it off because it's not bolted on. And we'll worry about wrapping the underpiece and trimming along this top edge. Okay, so I have the bottom half done, and I didn't film it because I wasn't exactly sure along the way how I was going to do it. I kind of just fumbled my way through it. I knew what the end result was, and I got there. So here's what I would say to you. First, I said 95 length by 12 wide. I would make that about 15. You're gonna waste a little bit extra material, but I'll show you why in a second, because I ran into some difficulty at the end, and if I had 15, I would have made it to where I originally planned. So as you can see, the bottom half is wrapped, and I did start in the center, right around midway of the light where it says here, which is the opening, and fed it down this way. Now once you get to this corner, probably from about 4 inches on the inboard side of this corner to the 4 inches beyond, it is going to be a real mother chicken. The reason is you've got compound curves in here. So the wrap wants to stick down here. Of course, it wants to stick to this edge. It wants to hang down, and you're trying to get it to feed into the center section. So with this, I will say be very, very liberal with your heat. Don't overheat it to melt it, but make sure this is constantly warm. So as you heat it up, you're gonna stick it down on this surface down in here, and you're gonna feed it around the edge. Now, when you get to this point, it's gonna wanna shoot off at that angle. It's not going to follow the line up the car. It wants to go off in a tangent direction. So as you come around this corner, what you'll find is that it's going to start coming down the body side. Now, in order to get this to feed up, I would say that's why you want more width. Just use some heat, tack it down, and go about, seriously, an inch at a time. A little bit, heat it and bend it. A little bit, heat it and bend it. A little bit, heat it and bend it, because it wants to shoot off this way. So in order to get it coming this way, you're either going to go really wide with your material and either waste it, or you just go at a little bit of a time and just kind of angle it each point going up all the way to the end. Now here, this is a mistake that I planned on. So this is the edge of 12, and I actually was coming up the edge all the way to the end, and I got here. Now this is going to cover because the top piece is going to come over on this edge, so it's not a big deal. But 15, I think, would have come up over here, and I wouldn't have been able to wrap this up and over. So that's why I say change it to 15 versus 12, and it'll give yourself a little bit more flexibility on this edge here. But as you can see, it came down exactly where I wanted. It came over the top, so I will have layered on this side. And as you notice, I now have knifeless tape under this kind of this body line, which is going to hide it to where it's cut. between the top half and the bottom half. Now you can just kind of get a good idea of where my knifeless tape is. You can kind of see it's green there, right in that little indentation, I guess you would call it, between the upper half and the lower half is where I'm going to overlap it, use a knifeless tape to cut the top section, and then I will have it where this mold line, or the line here where the upper half of the wrap comes up and over down, is going to be hidden in here. You won't be able to see it, unless you get really down on it and I tell you where it is. Of course, you see this, you'll know, but it's going to be hidden in here. And once you heat everything down, you won't even know down in here, because remember, you're looking down at an angle. You won't be able to see this under this little lip. All right, so now we're going to worry about the top half. This is going to be less tricky because there's less curves, but it's kind of a big piece because I want one piece that's going to cover all the way across the car and all the way taking into account the contours, plus it needs to wrap down about 3 inches over this edge right here. So in order to do that, I'm going to go a piece 62 inches wide. Now that's going to cover me all the way across from this point all the way up here to all the way to this point, and I'm going to give myself probably about 3 inches on each side, because I want to be able to drape over the edge, go over the knifeless tape, and then still have about 1 inch left so that I can seal it over it. So when I pull it, I'll have a good clean edge. Now, if I drew a point between these top edges here, all the way across, it's going to come approximately about where it says car light on the glass. Now, if I go there all the way down to the very rear edge, it's going to come to about here, and that's about 20 inches, give or take 20. Now again, I want it to wrap over this edge about 3 inches. So that would be 23, and I'm going to fudge it and just go 24. So I'm going to do a piece that is 62 wide by 24 this way. That way it will completely cover this, basically this tail section here. I can then seal it to this edge on the fin and then heat it from the center, and I'm going to start working it out. Working it this way down into it, and then I'll work these ends, these tips, at the very last piece. I'm going to kind of flow it out center all the way around very easily. Again, it's just going to take a little heat, a lot of patience, and we're going to get there at the end. All right, so here's how that piece is going to lay out. You can see around the edges, down in this corner, you're going to have a lot of overlap, but the targeted areas I was really looking for, there's a good 3 inches, and that will sit down nicely at the end to give me about the 1 inch down from this edge where the knifeless tape is. That way I don't have to worry about coverage. Now again, it goes across. It's got a bridge in the center because you can see I've tacked it down along this back edge just to give me a good seal. And I'll heat it up and just kind of form it down in there. Just take my time all the way down, nice and easy. Just keep it warm and it'll lay down easy. You can see on the back I've got another, probably good 2 inches down below that. So not a big deal right here. Perfect. If anything, I could always cheat it back a little bit, but this is going to cover that knifeless tape, give me a good seal to it, and then when I pull the tape, the knifeless tape, it's going to tear right through it. Be good. So you can see around the edge, same way. A little bit extra on the end here, and plenty there. So now I just need to get my heat gun, give it one last seal around the edge, a little warmth, and then I'm going to work myself probably, I'm going to tack it in the center, work this back edge, and just kind of work side to side going forward, and being careful. I'm going to kind of go this way, and kind of get out of these corners, because if I run it all the way to the edge, it'll kind of bunch up here. So run it here, that way, and flow it to the center. All right, so there's the top all molded in there, and I've just shown you how you can see right there. You can see just right the edge where the knifeless tape is. So it's folded past that, molded in. I've post heated it so that it's not going to rebound once I pull the knifeless tape out. But you can just see a good overlap all the way around. All the way through to the end. And again, there's the top. You can see it just folds down in all the way to the shape. And I'll just wrap that by hand. There's no knifeless tape to cut that. So next piece is going to be getting the knifeless tape out of there and cut it to make sure it fits. I tell you, using knifeless tape is always so much fun because it's like you're unwrapping a gift. You just pull it against the direction all the way around. Just keep on going. From there you pull the vinyl. Then you pull the two halves of the plastic carrier for the tape itself. And we just seal the edge. Nothing fancy, just use your finger. Get your nail down in there. Nice seal to it. Even though it's a little dark in here, tell you what, you can't tell there's an edge there. Even if I shine a bright light on it, you can't tell where that half is. Even if I show you, I get very close up there, you cannot see where that light is, or the line is, I should say. But that's the point. Use the body to hide parting lines. Whew. Now I just need to wrap that top up, and we will get this thing put on permanently. All right, so here's going to be your finished product. Everything is wrapped. Everything is done, nicely sealed up. Now again, on these front corners, just be sure to be patient with them, because it's kind of a complex piece. Get it nice and warm, and then stretch it out and make sure it tucks down all the way in. Everything else is sealed. Kind of just flow around there. You don't really see anywhere that I've filled, which is the point of doing filler. That way you don't see it. And there's the other edge, so I need to put 2 holes in there for the screws, which I'll do, and then get all the fasteners on the bottom. Now remember, when you put on your spoiler, once you put it back on, make sure you seal your studs so that way it doesn't leak water. I just used some of the butyl that I had from doing all the other projects, taillights, etc. And otherwise, that's it. Go ahead and put your light back in. Make sure you poke your holes as you need to. And that is the finale. There it is. How you do a hatchback spoiler. Again, if you guys have any questions on this, just let me know. It's really not that difficult. I think just doing the 92 length by 15 wide for the bottom piece, top piece 62 by 24, I think is what I cut it, and it came out pretty darn good. I'm pretty happy with it. Now again, just use it nice and warm. Make sure it's good. Let it flow where it needs to. Use some knifeless tape to cut between the 2 pieces. Get it settled down in there, and that's it. 2 pieces is the case. I think that you can do pretty easily that way. So again, if you have any comments, leave them down below. Questions, anything that doesn't seem to work out, let me know. Otherwise, I'm going to get this back on the car and done. And then got a couple more pieces to get the gray lady done. That's it for this time. Thanks for stopping by.